Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Money Photograph in the Entitled Parents subreddit. The post is titled, "My entitled mom wants me to pay my creep stepbrother's student debt. I, 29F, have an older stepbrother, Chris, 42M, who has been a nightmare since the day my mom married his dad. Let me give a bit of background. Our parents married when I was 4 and he was 17. Both our parents were widowed. After their wedding, we moved to the US since my mom had American citizenship through marriage. I was born in the US too, but after my dad died when I was 1, my mom and I moved back to Colombia. Stepdad got his residency through marriage and my stepbrother because he was a minor. My stepbrother wasn't a big fan of me. My only memories of him are just constant bullying. He would be left in charge of me since he was studying locally and lived with my parents, but mostly his babysitting really meant things like locking me in the guest bathroom or the shed outside. He would steal my lunchbox whenever he was the one who dropped me off at school. He even began to harm my pets. I have an old cat that has been with me for almost 22 years. He tried more than once to run her over with his car. My parents never believed any of it. He's the classic golden child. My mom absolutely wanted a son instead of a daughter, so my stepbrother took priority over me. The bullying just kept getting worse and creepier. He had this long key for the bathroom. The door was designed in case it got locked by accident. One could open them by inserting a long stick or key through a small hole on the outside. He would use it to walk in on me showering. My underwear would disappear sometimes, and I know for a fact it was him. He also started taking pictures of me sleeping. One night I woke up to him taking care of himself next to me while I slept. I yelled obviously. My parents came over, but he wasn't in trouble. I was for tempting him. I was 14 when this happened. He was 27. No one helped me and he got bolder until he did something I am still in therapy for when I was 16. It got to a point where I called my biological half-older brother Sam to see if I could live with him and his wife Sandy during my last 2 years of high school. When Sam found out what was going on, he confronted my mom. My mom didn't care and just told him to take me so long as he never asked her for money. Done and done. My brother and his wife became my legal guardians and took me in with my cat and the old family dog since I didn't trust leaving any living creature with Chris around. My parents never checked on me. My extended family from my father's side knew what happened and they immediately got together to ensure I could finish school well and go to college. I don't know my maternal family at all. Thanks to my paternal family, including Sam's mother and her family, I got my bachelor's and master's, no student debt, and work as a nurse practitioner. I still live with Sam, his wife, and their 2 kids, and I pay a small rent. Neither Sam nor his wife expected me to pay anything, but that's the least I can do for the 2 people who have taken care of me for 13 years. For anyone wondering why I didn't move, it's incredibly expensive where I live, and Sam insisted I stay with them until I save enough to buy my own home. Things seemed okay until my mom messaged me recently. She had not messaged me since I was 18 when she told me she no longer had any responsibility to me. In this message, she sounded overly friendly, telling me how she missed me and asking how I was doing. I was a bit creeped out, but decided to be nice, telling her about what I had done since leaving her care. She seemed very interested since apparently she knew I was a nurse, but not what kind I was. She began asking me about my salary. I didn't tell her anything about it, but that it was enough to pay the bills. My mom then began texting about Chris and how he was barely making any money due to his student debt. Apparently, Chris never finished a degree, jumping from career to career. He is now working in my stepdad's used cars business as a salesman, but most of his pay went to pay the substantial student debt he got over the years. I told my mom how sorry I was that Chris was having a hard time and wished him luck. That's when my mom finally got to what she wanted. She texted me I needed to pay his student debt so he could finally begin to make the money he deserves like the man of the family. I just turned off my phone. When I got home, Sam was surprised since I was usually the last to arrive. Sandy wasn't home yet. I told Sam what happened and showed him my mom's text messages. I don't think I've seen Sam this angry ever. He told me to block my mom, stepdad, and Chris if I had not done so yet. After talking with Sam and Sandy, I called my boss to ask for the next day and the one after off. This gave me a 4-day weekend, including the days I'm normally off shift. My boss was more than okay with this and told me to just take it easy and let her know if she could help. This backfired because the next day, my mom and Chris decided to come to Sam's house to speak to me. I was alone since Sam and Sandy were at work and the kids were at school. I immediately called Sam and told him what was going on. He told me not to open the door and that he was on his way. My mom spent the whole time screaming that I owed them for raising me and that my sweet brother deserved the money. Chris was going around trying to find a window or door unlocked. There wasn't any since the windows have safety bars and the only other door is in the closed garage and one in the yard. The yard one was locked and just in case I locked the one in the garage. I won't post what he called me when he saw me from one of the windows, but basically he pretty much told me they should have thrown me away when I was a baby since I grew to be a bee. He pounded on one of the windows so hard, he actually cracked the glass. Eventually, he gave up and went back to the front door, clearly trying to kick it down. I didn't have anything to worry about. The door was a security door, but I was still very scared. Between yelling, threatening, pleading, and insults, I finally heard Sam screaming at them to get lost. I only saw things from the window. Sam pretty much dragged them both off the porch. They got to a point I couldn't hear, but I saw my mom and Chris pale and look scared before they pretty much ran to their car and drove off way past the legal speed limit. Sam came in a bit after and immediately went full overprotective brother mode, asking me if I was okay. He kept saying sorry and hugging me. Sandy arrived almost immediately after and she looked like she was about to commit a felony. Apparently, Sam threatened him with filing charges for what he did to me when I was 16. My brother's ace. My stepdad was willing to testify against his own son. That seemed enough to get Chris off our backs, but not my mom. Since then, it's been 3 days, and my mom has sent texts, called nonstop with various numbers, and rallied a group of people who are supposedly my maternal family to harass me for money. She claims that money should legally be hers since she's my mother, that it's my late father's missed child support. Sam is helping me find a lawyer to get a restraining order on my mom, and I plan to take my stepdad's offer to testify by pressing charges against Chris. I can't say I can forgive him for not stopping his son, but I appreciate he's at least trying. I don't know the details, but Chris did something to a relative of his dad, and since then they had a really bad fallout. I took my boss offer and will be on vacation for a few more days. But here it is. My vacation days are getting eaten up and my therapist might need a therapist after. Thankfully, my dark sense of humor and supportive paternal family are keeping me somewhat sane. I'm not sure if her personal life will allow for it, but OP really should just cut off contact with her family completely and file restraining orders against her mom and stepbrother. The mom is not someone who can be reasoned with, so don't even bother. The fact that the stepbrother got away with basically assault is fucking crazy. The vibe I'm getting from the mom is that she must do all that she can to please the stepdad, so she defaults to always siding with the stepbrother over her own daughter. She is nothing short of scum. User WMS said, as someone said on here, take a big breath and don't let any of them intimidate you. As a matter of fact, send them all a group message stating that if they continue to harass you in any way, shape, or form, you will go to the police and press charges against them for harassment by communication. While you're at it, tell them everything, and I mean everything that this little demon spawn did to you growing up, including that story that you shared here of him peeping on you in the shower, and whatever other evil thing he did to you at 16, I believe it was, and say to them, is this the person that you want to protect? If so, then I want nothing to do with any of you. Make it very clear to them that if they continue harassing you like this, you will take whatever legal action you need to against them, just as you were going to do against your mom and your creep stepbrother, and make them all pay. Please know that you are being prayed for, and if you need anyone to talk to, I'm here. User Library Mouse said, write up what your mother and Chris did and said to you your entire life, like you did here, but a little more condensed. Then send it out to every single phone number that contacted you on your mother's behalf. Then find the social media accounts of everyone you can from your mother's and stepdad's side of the family. Post a similar description of your life with them on their pages and ask them to keep these awful people away from you. Any cousins or other relatives you reach out to that are not involved in your mother's craziness will be disgusted with them. Nobody will want to help Chris or your mother ever again. About 3 days later, OP provided an update. I didn't think I would be making an update so soon, but my mother is unrelenting. To the people that were so kind and gave me advice earlier, thank you so much. It really helps to have people show kindness in difficult days. I followed the advice to freeze my credit and I will be getting a new phone for personal use. I will have to keep my old phone for work for a little while. Now to update on the situation, we are going through with pressing charges and might do a civil lawsuit for 2 years of child support my mother owes. We are not sure yet of our chances on it, but my brother Sam wants to go scorched earth. As for my mother, she began a new campaign. She's been posting about me falsely accusing my stepbrother Chris of SA. She's been accusing me of being a temptress that tried for years to sleep with my brother and even got a few relatives, who I just found out are my aunts, to join in saying they were witnesses. I never met these women in my life. My stepfather actually commented on her post saying my mom was lying and accusing his own son of being a pedophile. That's how I found out what was the big fallout between them. Stepbrother went after one of stepfather's nieces. I don't know the girl's age, but she has to be about my age if I'm thinking of the right person. If not, she's younger than me. A lot of my biological father's relatives have also gone into social media to call out my mother, saying she had always claimed she was an orphan and had no family, while now she has 3 sisters. It's a mess. I'm just watching for now and being a stay-at-home aunt. My nephews love it since we go out after they finish homework for crazy shenanigans. My boss has helped me with some paperwork for leave of absence, and I should be off for about 6 weeks. After that, I'll be mostly working from home for a few weeks. Not the greatest update, and to be sincere, things are not fun, but it's nice to spend time with the kiddos at least. Also, I forgot this. No, my mom is not likely sleeping or in a relationship with my stepbrother. Some people had mentioned this. My mom always wanted a son. I was a disappointment because I was born a girl. She treats my brother like he's her real son, and I think she truly loves him as a mother. She made sure to tell me how disappointing it was for her when I was born. About a week later, we got another update. So this might be my last update on the mess with my mother and stepbrother since we're finally starting the legal fights, but I finally had a good laugh. In my previous post, I haven't said a lot about my biological father. He died when I was 1 year old, so I never really met him. I have one picture of him holding me when I was an infant. I mostly know him from stories from his family. What I do know is he was a man of means. He had a lot of assets that he had carefully divided in his will. Not like so rich I'll never have to work type. Just rich enough that I would be able to live comfortably so long as I worked and did right by my finances. I was not aware he had made sure to leave me with anything. Neither did my half-brother Sam, his son with his first wife. I'm the daughter of an affair partner turned second wife. My understanding was that anything I inherited was wasted by my mother to buy things for her predator stepson Chris, who she prefers to me. He was my abuser growing up. In her words, daughters don't need inheritance. Just marry a wealthy old man like me. Well, since my mother and Chris have been harassing me lately, we drove to my dad's lawyer to get some things we need from my dad's records for the lawsuit we are planning. He's a sweet older man, kinda looks like my dad a bit, and was my dad's best friend. When we met, he received me with a hug and told me how happy he was to finally meet with me. His wife was there too, and she also gave me a big hug and told me we needed to have dinner at their place. Once we all caught up, we found my mother had been faking receipts to get money from my trust. A lot of it. Some of it from when I was under Sam's guardianship. And she's not the executor of my trust, she had to provide receipts for anything. She's been sending receipts for me because I'm still in medical school. I finished school in 2021. Well, her meal ticket not only got torn, and now she's in big trouble. Because this is fraud, and basically my hands are tied about pressing charges or not. She claims me as a dependent on her taxes, so my dad's lawyer would refund her for her expenses. He basically told me there's just no way we can keep this just in civil court. He had to contact the IRS and the police. Doesn't help, she's been using my social security number for some things she shouldn't. Thank you to the people that advised me to freeze my credit. You guys saved me for sure. I probably won't be able to post for quite a while, and I'm going to be incredibly busy. I'm just mentally exhausted about how much has happened. I wouldn't have done anything about my mom using my trust if she had left me alone. I wouldn't even know about it because the trust is set for me to take over it with proof of marriage or graduating college, and since I didn't know about it, I never sent the required paperwork to take control. She could have milked it dry if she had left me alone and just kept sending fake information. I am in the process to get what's left of my trust. There's quite a bit in it and should be enough for me to get a house or condo if I mix it with my savings, and still have left over to invest or do other things safely. I might wait for a while to buy anything though. I don't know how safe it would be since my mom still has my social security number. Then another update came through after a few more weeks. This is more a personal rant than a full-on update. Things are only starting on the legal side of things, so no real update or information I'm allowed to share. This is more on the personal side of things since I just came home from having my mother harass me in a bar. It was fun. As for last night, well, I decided to go out with some girlfriends for a girls' night. My half-brother Sam and his wife Sandy have been pushing me to go out for a while. We went to a local bar. I mostly stick to the stools by the bar as I'm a massive introvert, but I like seeing my friends having fun. So I was simply drinking and talking to the bartender in passing. Well, my good mood was ruined when I noticed my mother, thankfully alone, walk to me. The moment she saw me, she pretty much launched herself to hug me and began crying, saying how much she had missed me and how different I looked. I was trying really hard to get away from her, but she began causing a scene. She started begging for us to reconcile, that she was sorry I took my stepbrother's affection the wrong way, that they both love me and want me to live with them. She was loud and people were looking at me. Some even looked sorry for her, and I had people encouraging me to hug my mom back. It was embarrassing and just so wrong. I just exploded and told her to leave me alone and walked out. That was even worse because she kept following me with 2 or 3 randoms calling me an asshole and terrible daughter. She just kept swearing Chris truly cares for me and wants us to be a family again. She even said that he found me so beautiful that he couldn't help himself when he assaulted me. I was a minor when he attacked me. He was almost 30. I just started crying and screaming at her to go away and leave me alone. Thankfully, one of my more sober friends called Sam and he came over very fast. He scared away my mom and took me home. I'm now 100% sure I don't want to go out. For people wondering why I never call the cops, I called the cops since I was 11 to report the abuse. I reported at 16 what he did to me. They took his side. I don't trust them. I truly believe cops don't care about SA victims. I'm just writing this to get it out of my system. My therapist is unavailable, so Reddit is the next best thing. The next update took a little longer, coming in after about 2 months. Sorry for the radio silence. I had some people asking for updates, but things had been pretty quiet until this weekend, so I had nothing to post. I know people usually do a recap or something like that, so TL.dr, my mother has always preferred my stepbrother Chris. He was my abuser. I recently was tracked down by my mother, and she, along with my stepbrother, have been harassing me since. Currently, I'm in a legal fight against them to recover some stolen inheritance from my father and trying to get an RO, among other matters. This weekend, once again, my mother decided to accost me at work. I was working from home, doing clerical work for the clinic I work at. I'm a nurse practitioner, but took some clerical duties to be able to work from home when the mess with my mother and Chris began. Since then, the time I could work from home has ended, so I am back in the clinic taking patients. For the most part, Saturday went well and quiet. Sunday, however, I noticed someone that shared my mother's name, but not her last name. My mom has a very unique name, very old sounding, and I've seen it only twice in my whole life. Of course, there's a big Latino community where I live, so I just assumed this was another person. We're from a Colombian family, though I was born in the US to an American father. Lo and behold, it was my mother using a fake last name. When I saw her, I immediately called my boss. She's aware of the situation and immediately went to ask my mother to please leave the premises. This can be a controversial move, so to explain it before the debate starts. She was in for a general checkup, not a life or death treatment. She was not denied because of protected reasons, but because I, as a member of staff, felt my life was in danger in her presence. There are a lot of other clinics at varying prices, and they are open to get new patients, so she can get her checkup anywhere else. This is allowed in our state's law. If she was hyperventilating or clearly in distress, we would not be able to ask her to leave. My mother, of course, went on a rampage, demanding to be seen by me specifically. My boss, thankfully, was not intimidated and just insisted my mother had to leave or else the cops would be called. After a back and forth that I was watching from the security cameras, this all happened in our waiting room. My mother threw a letter at my boss and left fuming. She even pushed a lady that was walking in, though thankfully no one was hurt. My boss brought me the letter and told me she will make sure to not assign me any patients with my mother's first name and went to make arrangements with our front desk. I took a break and decided to read the letter, mostly to see if it was something I could use for my RO. This is a translation to my best capabilities. My lovely daughter, it hurts me so much you refuse to speak to me. I love you so much and all I want is to recover the years we've lost. I only have you left from your father, whom I loved dearly. I know there are a lot of misunderstandings with Chris. He loves you so much too, and I wish you would give him a chance to prove it to you. He always talked about how beautiful you are and how much he wished you two could spend more time together. He truly adores you, and I wish you would consider his feelings more. He even asked me to convince you to marry him, and I think it's a wonderful idea. Papa and I are probably divorcing, and this will be the perfect solution. So, Chris, you and I can stay a family. He keeps going on and on about how much he wants to raise your and his baby together. Let me know when you want to go shopping for wedding dresses. I love you, my darling. Mom, I'm gonna share a few personal notes here. I am unable to get pregnant. After Chris' attack, I had some medical complications that have left me unable to conceive. My mother knows about it, Chris knows about it, the cops know about it. They ruled the whole thing as consensual sex, and because I was 16, the legal age of consent, nothing was done. I showed this to my lawyer and he added it to the compilation of things we're using for the RO. Still no court date, and the cops don't consider my case risky enough to do the paperwork for a temp order. I do have one officer who is taking this very seriously and has been amazing. It's just a majority who don't seem to care or have too much on their docket to give my case time. Update. I'm gonna update here since it's only been 3 days and feels dumb to make a new post. Chris has been arrested. Apparently he kidnapped a 2-year-old baby girl, his cousin's daughter no less. The baby was recovered safe and unharmed from what I heard. I'm glad she wasn't taken for long. Who knows what the hell he wanted to do to her. If I hear more details, I'll update. I'm trying to use this to get that temp RO. Another update was posted by OP after another month. My mother continues to be the bane of my existence. It's been about a month since I last dealt with her, and I'm once again facing my mom's delusions. The short background is my mother prefers my sexual abuser stepbrother Chris. He's 43 now. He abused me since I was a child. Normal abuse first that evolved into abuse as I became a preteen and then a teen. After the worst happened, my paternal half-brother Sam took me in when I was 16 and raised me. It's also come to light that my mother was stealing from a trust my father had set for me with fake receipts, and she had also been claiming me on her taxes, which is ridiculous since I do my own taxes as an independent. All in all, my mother is now being investigated for tax fraud. Chris is currently in jail for kidnapping his cousin's baby, a 2-year-old girl. Now to the newest stupidity that has come from my mother. She is now harassing me to pay the bail. To begin with, I can't believe they would let him post bail at all after kidnapping a baby. The bail is set at $25K. That seems like a lot, but in all honesty, I find it absolutely disturbing that's all they are charging. I've been trying to get an RO on both Chris and my mother. Chris, that one is more likely coming. My mother. Despite all her harassment, no one, neither cops nor lawyers, believe her to be a danger to me. So I still have to deal with my mother trying to talk to me at the parking lot of the clinic I work in. I'm a nurse practitioner, or at home constantly banging on the door. Her sisters, who I met as an adult and didn't know they even existed to begin with, have also joined in this. Sam and his wife say that it's okay and not to worry, but I know this is taking a toll on them. I'm also worried about their kids, they have 2 boys, being exposed to all of the crazy. So despite Sam's insistence that everything is okay, I'd move temporarily to a hotel until I could find a cheap apartment to rent. Some people suggested becoming a traveling nurse, and while I'm considering it, I don't want to be far from Sam and his family as they are my support system. The issue is my mother somehow tracked me to the first hotel I was in and found out my room number. She banged on the door while I was getting ready for work. When I opened the door to tell her to go away, she slapped me and began to hit and scratch at me, yelling it was my fault that her sweet boy was taken by the cops and that I should be the one paying his bail. My mom isn't that strong, but I was stunned at the sudden attack. By sheer luck, housekeeping was doing their rounds when this happened and they got security to restrain my mother. Security called the cops. They took my mom away, but apparently let her go with just a warning. When I recovered enough, I ended my stay and booked into another hotel. I did go to work, mostly so I could get my injuries looked after. My boss heard this as she was helping me get through a panic attack and cleaning some scratches I had on my neck. After giving her full details, she told me she had a rental for extra income. At the moment, she has it rented for some college students, but when the semester ends, she's going to close it as a student rental and offered it to me. It's a small house with a yard that permits pets, so I can bring my cat with me. She also wants me to start carpooling with one of my coworkers, a male nurse that looks intimidating but is the sweetest teddy bear you can imagine. I went to the cops to report my mother, and again, despite the pictures of my injuries, this was all brushed off as a domestic affair, since my mother is elderly and they don't think she's a real danger. I even got lectured about maybe needing family therapy. My lawyer just told me to take a deep breath and do the paper trail. He told me at the end of all this, we'll have the last laugh, so here's hoping. As to how my mother found my room number. The girl at the front desk gave it to her when my mom made a scene about how I was and she was worried I would kill myself after my fiance was taken by the cops on fake charges. Yeah, I think it's BS, and my lawyer is already speaking to the hotel's management for that. My dear mother has also gone back to social media to claim I attacked her when she went to check on me after Sam kicked me out. Again, it's turned into a fight between my dad's family and her family. I posted pictures of my injuries and wrote my account of what happened. I'm just so tired at the moment. This is affecting my work, and while my boss is amazing and supportive, I can't imagine this is good for me. I miss Sam and his family, I miss my own bed, I miss my peace. I never wanted to deal with my mother or Chris after I left their roof. Small update. For people that call out for me to check my car for air tags, you called it. There was an air tag hidden in the undercarriage. No idea how it was put in. It was covered in a ton of tape, making it even harder to see since it matched the color. The most recent update was posted just a couple of days from the time of this recording. Hey everyone, I'm finally happy to inform you that my mother was arrested last night for tax fraud and grand larceny against my inheritance. It's been about 6 months of waiting for this to happen, but finally, to do the mandatory TLDR, my mother stole from a trust fund my biological dad left for me to pay things for my stepbrother Chris. He was my abuser, both physically and growing up. Now both of them are arrested. Chris was arrested for kidnapping his cousin's baby. It's been months of harassment, abuse, and fear, but I have to admit right now I feel amazing. I might have to testify at some point, but that's fine. I'm ready to be free of both of them. As many have suggested, someone even did a great bullet point list recently that was filled with good tips. I'm in the process of getting a temp RO and also getting a new social security number. I'm also back at home with my half brother and his family. Turns out one of his neighbors is selling his house, so fingers crossed I get it. I'm just so relieved. It's been half a year of pain and turmoil. I'm not lowering my guard, but at least a couple of weeks of peace will be nice. My mother did call me twice from jail. First call went to voicemail where she demanded I drop the charges, which I can't. That's all the IRS. The second I did answer, and she was pretty much begging me not to abandon her. It felt good to just say bye and end the call. Good luck to whoever her lawyer ends up being. Her flying monkeys have been annoying me with messages and emails, but I can live with blocking them. They are complete strangers, so not as emotionally draining. Again, as cliche as it sounds, I cannot thank everyone enough for their advice and support. If I have any updates, I'll post them, but for now, I'm gonna go back to lurking in the shadows. So a lot happened in this story, yet there really isn't much to say. The mom is crazy, the brother is crazy and a fucking degenerate. Hopefully OP is able to move forward with her life in peace, and I'm glad that she had people on her side throughout this debacle. This is not something that can be salvaged via therapy. If you know what's good for you, you'll work toward just cutting these people out of your life. But I understand that this is easier said than done. And I know some of you probably won't think it's that shocking given what the mother has already done. But I was still somewhat surprised about the lengths she went to in order to steal OP's money. User Naronghim said, "Let the prosecutors know that your aunts are harassing you on your mom's behalf. Even if you don't have an RO against her, they'll put a stop to it PDQ. They may even explain to your aunts that their continued harassment of you will only get your mother in more trouble. So I wouldn't block them, I would just mute them in case they don't get the message to leave you alone. Then they'll have to live with themselves for getting your mother in even more trouble because they couldn't leave you alone." User Scout 336 said, "Congrats. You have vanquished the monsters who harmed you for so long. You are so brave and powerful with your own private armies behind you. You waged war against those who traumatized you. You have created a better life for yourself. You've reminded us all that righteousness can prevail. I'm so proud of you for holding your tormentors accountable. Cheers to you for creating and stepping into your brighter future." User Gypsy said, "I know the wheels of justice turn slowly, but it's been far too long for you to deal with the constant threats and harassment. I'm super happy for you that it finally arrived. If you're able to buy the house next door to your brother, please have a security system installed for your own safety, preferably one with a doorbell camera. Yes, your brother will be next door, but a security system will give you both additional warning and evidence if needed. Once again, congratulations and best wishes." User Bellamia said, "Hard to think about it, but here you have people who support you and are by your side, keep us posted, and remember, it doesn't matter where, you can always have people to listen and be there for you. We stand with you."